Do you have any idea who you're talking to? The politician's voice dripped with arrogance as he leaned back in his leather chair, adjusting his expensive tie. Across the mahogany desk sat a quiet man in a simple gray suit, holding a manila folder that could destroy careers. I'm Congressman Bradley Hutchins, and I decide who gets what in this town. Your little Veterans Center funding request? He laughed coldly. Denied. We have more important priorities than coddling broken soldiers. The older man remained silent, but his steely gray eyes held depths that Hutchins couldn't fathom. What this corrupt politician didn't know was that he'd just insulted retired four-star General William Iron Will Patterson, a man who'd commanded 180,000 troops and held the respect of presidents. The grand white buildings of Capitol Hill were symbols of power and prestige. But behind these walls, dirty deals for money and influence were often hidden. Congressman Bradley Hutchins was a master manipulator who had perfected working within the system. He'd been in office for 6 years, becoming richer, more powerful, and less honest each year. General William Patterson came from a completely different world. Throughout his 35-year military career, he had lived by principles of honor, duty, and sacrifice. After retirement, he dedicated his life to helping veterans, especially working on PTSD treatment and veteran suicide prevention. The confrontation between these two men wasn't just a personal conflict. It was a clash between two different value systems, two different Americas. Patterson had scheduled the appointment with Hutchins 3 weeks in advance. He had a $2.8 million federal funding request for a veteran suicide prevention center. The statistics were horrifying. 22 veterans committed suicide every day. Patterson was determined to reduce this number. Hutchins's office was designed to display power. The massive mahogany desk, fake praise photos on the walls, expensive carpet. Everything was meant to show visitors how important he was. So, Hutchins continued without even opening the file, you want money for a veteran center. What I want you to know is this: I don't run a charity. Patterson responded calmly. This isn't charity, Congressman. This is a national crisis. Every day, every day, every day. Hutchins waved his hand. I've heard this story before. Look, soldiers have a suicide problem. No problem. They should be stronger. We built this country through toughness. Patterson's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. Hutchins continued. Besides, this money has already been allocated to important projects. We're building a new golf course in my district. A golf course? Patterson finally spoke. Yes, economic development, job creation. How many jobs will your veteran center create? A few therapists, a few counselors? I'm talking about real jobs. Patterson took a deep breath. Congressman, last year 6,139 veterans committed suicide. That's more than the total soldiers who died in the Vietnam War. Statistics, statistics, Hutchins smiled. Look, old man, let me tell you the truth. This city is built for strong people, not for the weak. Patterson calmly pulled out a file from his briefcase. Congressman Hutchins, I didn't just come here to talk about veteran funding. Hutchins frowned. What do you mean? For the past 2 years, I've been investigating military budget theft, specifically the diversion of military funds to civilian projects. Hutchins's face changed. What does that mean? Patterson opened the file. What I mean is this. During my 18 months in Iraq, I saw our soldiers die due to lack of equipment. No body armor, no armored vehicles. Why? Because this money was going elsewhere. That's nonsense. No, it's not. Patterson's voice hardened. And now I'm learning that one of those other places is your golf course. Sweat was beading on Hutchins' forehead. You can't prove these allegations. Patterson smiled. For the first time, he smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. Congressman Hutchins, I think you've underestimated me. Patterson stood up. His posture changed. Even in civilian clothes, his military authority became apparent. My name is 4-star General William Patterson. 35 years of military service, 2nd Armored Division Commander in Iraq, Joint Operations Director in Afghanistan, and after retirement, consultant to the Department of Defense Internal Audit Unit. The color had drained from Hutchins's face. For the past 2 years, Patterson continued, I've been investigating the illegal transfer of military funds to civilian projects. And you, Congressman Hutchins, are at the top of that list. Patterson placed a photograph on the desk. This photo is from Iraq, 2007. My soldiers fighting in old, worn body armor. Why? Because the $3.2 million allocated for new body armor went to finance your golf course. Hutchins's hand was trembling. This isn't possible. Very possible. Patterson placed another document. Here are the bank transfers. Here are the fake invoices. Here is your signature. Patterson walked around the desk and faced Hutchins. Second photograph, he said, placing a new image. This is from Afghanistan. Sergeant Michael Torres, 23 years old, killed in an IED blast. Why? Because he didn't have an armored vehicle. Do you know where the armored vehicle funds went? Hutchins couldn't answer. To your private swimming pool, your $180,000 pool. Patterson placed the third photograph. This is Specialist Jennifer Martinez, 21 years old, lost her leg in an IED. Why? Because the bomb detection equipment was old. Where did the new equipment funds go? I don't know, Hutchins whispered. To your yacht, Liberty Bell, your $340,000 boat. The power of the system. Patterson sat back down. Congressman Hutchins, because of people like you, my soldiers died, my children, my brothers. I was just what? Stealing money? Selling people's lives? Patterson pulled out another file from his briefcase. This file contains everything from your past 6 years, every illegal transfer, every fake invoice, every bribe. Hutchins's voice was shaking. What do you want? I want justice. Patterson's voice was ice cold. And I want veteran funding. How much money? All of it, every penny you stole. $12.4 million for veteran PTSD centers. Hutchins put his head in his hands. This isn't possible. I can't find that much money. You will find it, Patterson replied calmly, because the alternative is 25 years in prison. This is blackmail. No, Patterson smiled. This is justice. I'm also giving you a chance to do the right thing. Patterson stood up. I'm giving you 48 hours. Within 48 hours, I want a $12.4 million budget approval for veteran funding. Also, a public apology speech. What? What if I don't do this? Patterson showed Hutchins an FBI card. Then I'll speak with the FBI's Public Corruption Unit. I have very nice meetings with Agent Sarah Mitchell. As Patterson walked toward the door, he stopped. Oh, one more thing. Copies of this file exist at the Washington Post, at the New York Times, and at the Pentagon. Hutchins's eyes widened. Can you do this? I'm not just a retired general, Congressman. I'm also a citizen who served this country for 35 years, and as a citizen, I have the right to report corruption. Patterson walked toward the door, then turned one last time. Congressman Hutchins, I'm going to give you the most important lesson of your life. Power doesn't just come from an office chair. Real power comes from character, and character is measured by the choices made in the most difficult times. 2 days later, Hutchins's office was filled with media. The sweating politician was reading his prepared text with trembling hands. I apologize to the American people. I misused funds allocated for veteran services for wrong purposes. My behavior is unacceptable and indefensible. The journalists in the room were bombarding him with questions. Congressman, how much money did you steal? Did these funds affect military operations? Will you resign? Hutchins couldn't answer, because every answer would sink him deeper. 3 months later, the Patterson Veteran PTSD Center opened. The $12.4 million modernization included state-of-the-art treatment facilities, 50 therapists, and a 24-hour support line. At the opening ceremony, Patterson gave a speech. This center is dedicated to the memory of our lost soldiers, to Sergeant Michael Torres, to Specialist Jennifer Martinez, and to all our living veteran brothers and sisters. Hundreds of veterans in the hall gave a standing ovation. The victory we won today was not won with weapons, but with truth, because the most powerful weapon is the truth. Hutchins resigned and was sentenced to prison. The golf course project was canceled. Veteran funds were recovered. But the most important change occurred in the veteran community. Patterson's struggle exposed other corruption cases. Veteran rights advocates organized, and the daily veteran suicide number, which had been 22, dropped to 18 with the opening of new centers, then to 15, then to 12. Every life saved was a victory for Patterson. Because true leadership isn't about sitting in an office chair. True leadership is standing up to do what's right. And sometimes the biggest battles are won not on battlefields, but at office desks. On Patterson's desk in his office, a small plaque stood, "Service never ends. It only changes form." The phone rang. Another veteran needed help. Patterson picked up immediately. "Patterson speaking. How can I help?" Because for a true soldier, the mission never truly ends. 6 months after the center opened, the statistics showed remarkable improvement. Veteran suicide rates in the region had dropped by 40%. Mental health services were reaching more veterans than ever before. Patterson stood in the center's main therapy room, watching a group session. Former soldiers supporting each other, healing together, finding hope again. Dr. Sarah Kim, the center's director, approached him. "General, you should see the latest numbers. We've prevented 127 suicides in the past 6 months. Patterson nodded quietly. "That's 127 families that still have their loved ones." "How did you know?" she asked. "How did you know Hutchins was stealing?" Patterson looked out the window, watching veterans playing with their children in the center's garden. Sometimes the best intelligence comes from simply caring enough to pay attention. When soldiers die from lack of equipment while politicians build golf courses, someone needs to ask the hard questions. As Patterson left the center that evening, he passed the memorial wall. Photos of fallen soldiers lined the corridor, men and women who had given everything for their country. Among them was a new addition, a photo of Sergeant Michael Torres and Specialist Jennifer Martinez, with a plaque reading, "Their sacrifice exposed corruption and saved lives." An elderly veteran approached Patterson. "General, my grandson was going to hurt himself, but he came here instead. He's alive because of what you did." Patterson shook the man's hand. "He's alive because he was brave enough to ask for help. We just made sure help was available." Walking to his car, Patterson reflected on the past year. The confrontation with Hutchins seemed like a lifetime ago. What had started as a simple funding request had uncovered a web of corruption that reached multiple congressional offices. But more importantly, it had saved lives. His phone buzzed with a text from the center. "General, we just had our 200th veteran complete the program successfully. Thank you for making this possible." Patterson smiled and looked up at the American flag flying over the center. In the gentle evening breeze, it waved proudly, a symbol of the values worth fighting for, both on foreign battlefields and in the halls of power at home. Some battles are fought with bullets and bombs. Others are fought with documents and determination. But the most important battles, the ones for honor, dignity, and the lives of those who served, those battles are always worth fighting, no matter where they take place. If this story touched you, subscribe to Real Talk Tales and hit that like button.